First of all, right, watching the Chimaev and Whittaker contest, like Chimaev goes straight for the takedown. I was like, what the hell are we watching here?
No time to lose.
In actual fact, right, because I'd missed that fight initially. So
Okay.
I watched the Topuria and Max Holloway fight, and that was essentially a boxing match.
Yeah.
That included some like strikes from with the legs, right? Because I mean Holloway like threw 200 punches in the first 2 rounds, and eventually Topuria, who's like super talented, especially with his striking ability, won that one. So then after like watching that, Chuck, and the hype around that, like, and seeing like Topuria like stop that fight in the manner that he did, it's like, okay, let me rewind and go watch the Whittaker and Chimaev fight. And the first thing I see in the first round is Chimaev going for the takedown, and he's like on the back of Whittaker, and I get it, like, and his background is in wrestling, and he's great at it, by the way. And that usually you're the UFC guy, and you've said that's the style that tends to win most fights, the grappling, and that's what he's great at.
Yeah.
So that's what he goes to. But like Chaka was watching that, it's like, man, this guy's all over his back, and Whittaker is just trying to get out from like it's not exciting,
That's the
it's
thing
effective,
about it.
but it's not exciting. And then like when it was stopped, like with the tap out, like, wait, what just happened? Like you weren't really choked out. What just happened? Then you see Whittaker afterwards, like, and his jaw and what's happening there.
That was
Like,
crazy.
whoa. But then like he surely did not mean that, right? Like Chimaev, he did not mean to actually get that on his jaw and break his jaw, because he was trying to go for a chokehold.
Yeah. Well, it depends what space you have, because he was, so you are going for the choke, right? But if you don't have the space, some of them go for the face crank, and it's what you're working with, what you can have, right? But ideally, the thing that you want to do is the choke, because that just, that's what that gives you that position of power. Either you tap out, or I'm gonna turn your lights out, versus just tapping. So I think he did that, and I did not expect that to happen. Rob says his teeth were already bad, or they were loose, and then that happened, and then they got pushed out of place. But it's fine. To speak on the co-main event, Jay, before I go to the main event. Wrestling is boring, Jay. I do agree with you, but it's such a big weapon in the game, because when Chimaev got onto Robert's back, you saw and you figured quite early that it's not going to change. He's going to roll to his left, going to roll to his right. Nothing's going to change. You're not going to get Chimaev off of you, and that's what I don't like about wrestling. It's almost set in stone. This is how it's going to go out. It's now a matter of time. Is Rob going to? So the questions are: is Rob going to survive the round, or when is the finish going to come? Because if people are that good at wrestling, then it becomes boring. But nonetheless, you knew that it's coming. That's what you know. You know that Chimaev is a good wrestler. How did you prepare? How well did you prepare? So Rob said he felt good. He trained. He didn't have any issues, any injuries. So a bit disappointing when you look at how that fight ended up. But it makes it interesting, because now it looks like he's close to getting that shot, because it's either Strickland or him who goes after DDP.
And I wanted to ask you about that, right? Because he did call out DDP after the fight, and he's undefeated in the UFC. But there were still question marks in terms of how good is he? And this was a statement win against Whittaker. But Chuck, isn't he ranked like 13th, like in the division? How can he just like bolt past everybody else and get a title shot at Drickus?
Because as much as boxing is broken, UFC is broken as well, because they go for the storyline, and that's because Chimaev is almost has this aura of the boogeyman, because he keeps saying this, and the journalists will also add fire to this and say, no one wants to fight Chimaev, and I don't know if that's particularly true. And I don't think it's right for him to get this shot now. I think even if Strickland does win, or even if DDP defends, I think Chimaev has to fight one more time. And the reason why I say this is because he fought Kamaru Usman on short notice, and that fight was close. And that's because Kamaru Usman can wrestle. He fought Gilbert Burns, and that one was close. And we saw Chimaev get rocked a few times. We're like, oh, so this guy is not doesn't have an iron chin. He can be rocked, and that's because Gilbert Burns can wrestle as well. So he didn't have his way with both those guys who are smaller. So what happened to Robert Whittaker took a lot of people by surprise, because they thought, well, yeah, he does ragdoll people, but Robert Whittaker is strong, so he's not going to have his way with Robert. But we were wrong. So I think being the boogeyman, sometimes he can jump the list and jump the queue and become top of the list. But I don't think just yet, because if he does that, I don't think that's fair. But I think it would be interesting to see him in terms of how does he do against DDP and that amount of strength that DDP has, and how that fight plays out. Going to the main fight, Jay, heartbroken because, man, I'm a Max Holloway guy through and through. I just feel I like the aura, I like the style of fight, I like the kind of person he is. And, man, the guy who won the fight is the guy you don't want to win the fight because he's a loudmouth. He talks too much, he says too many things, and you're like, not this guy again. But sometimes when someone speaks too much, but he's got that amount of time to back it up, you have to give it to him. I don't think, oh no, let me rather rephrase. I didn't give him my respect, he took it. Because after a while, you have to say, well, you're the real deal. Because if you look at the fight if you look at the trilogy between Max Holloway and Volkanovski, for me as a fan, I thought the first one was close. I would have given it to Max, but Volkanovski takes the belt off Max. The second one, I thought, if the first one was close, Max did more than the first fight. I'm giving it to Max. Volkanovski defends. Look at the third fight. Volkanovski destroys Max Holloway, and he gets to win that trilogy 3-0. Goes to Topuria. Topuria knocks him out. And you're like, okay, but styles make fights, right? And you look at the fact that Holloway fought Gaethje, someone who's a dangerous puncher who does put people to sleep. He didn't get put to sleep. He put Gaethje out to sleep, and you're like, well, he's gone into the fire and came out unscathed. So this is the similar kind of fight, so he should survive that. The difference with Topuria, though, is that he's got a left hook as well. Just think he's got fire in his right hand, but Topuria's got fire in both hands because you're saying 200 shots landed. That's someone who's going swimmingly in a fight. Someone who's doing well in a fight because he was kicking, he was throwing, he was punching until you got rocked by that first one. You're like,
caught him with that right hand,
and you got him shook
you
up.
You saw that
like,
man stop in his tracks, Chuck. Like, hold on. You know, it's that thing. Like fighters describe in terms like electricity just goes through your entire body because that's never happened to Holloway, right?
No,
like,
because Holloway's never been knocked down.
He's never been knocked down, and that's the thing, Chuck. And you'll go a long time like in fighting, and you'll face a lot of opponents, and such a thing will not happen to you. But the first time you feel different kind of power, like you know that there's been a seismic shift. Something different has happened, and the moment he landed, that right shot, and Holloway reacted the way that he did, that fight was over. Like that fight was over. He did well to get out, to get out from the cage. Yeah. But then that man was stalking him at that point, and he knew, Topuria knew at that point that okay, he just needs to go and get the victory and just bring it over the line now. And he was vicious in the way that he did it. For me, I saw a guy like that guy is exciting. And then he came to the ring with Sergio Ramos as well. It's like as a Madridista, it's like okay, I think that's my guy there.
And with that, Jay, right? Because Topuria, I think he celebrated his championship win against Volk in the Bernabeu, and he was celebrating all that stuff. Barcelona gave Max Holloway his own T-shirt, and they made Ilia Topuria aware of that. Hey, when you've got a Madrid T-shirt, you come out with Sergio Ramos. Are you aware that this guy's got a Barca T-shirt? And they're like, oh, because of that, it makes it more. It adds more fuel to the fire. But I think, he's a special talent, Jay, and sometimes you don't know because you haven't watched the guy long enough. And peep this, Jay. He came into the UFC being said to be a very good grappler, but the fact that he's putting up his boxing and that's what's winning him fights, then you're like, okay, this guy's properly special. And I mean, kudos to Max because he made a fight of it, Jay. Because after getting rocked in that second round, he didn't run away because he figured, well, I can't run away for the rest of the fight. At some point, I have to answer with something heavy so that this guy can respect me as well. But Topuria took it, ate it. He was getting hit himself, but he's got a good chin on himself as well. But the power, man, is the equalizer. Max said he was doing good up until he saw himself looking up. What just
happened? And yeah, like the size to power ratio with Ilia is mad. Like it's special. He's really a special fighter. And yeah, I found myself thinking, man, this man is the legend killer because he did that to Volkanovski and he's now done that to Max Holloway. Like, yeah, he's absolutely the real deal.